You bought yourself a lovely hydrangea, planted it up, did your best job, but now it's all going wrong. The leaves have gone a funny colour. The leaves have gone brown and scorched off. The blue flowers that were on it have now turned pink, the worst colour of any flower in your garden. Or worse still, you've pruned it and now it hasn't flowered at all. But don't worry, because I'm going to go through those 5 mistakes that gardening beginners often make when they start growing or planting their hydrangeas. Honestly, it's all going to be okay. Mistake number 1 is to do with blue flowering hydrangeas, and the problem that you get with this is the pH of your soil. I know that sounds technical, I'll explain it. It really is very simple. So, blue flowering hydrangeas, arguably the most popular of all hydrangeas. They really are. But you buy them, plant them in your garden, and next year they're not blue anymore, they've gone that horrible pink colour. What has gone wrong? Well, it's to do with the acidity or alkalinity of your soil. You can always find out what the acidity or alkalinity of your soil is by doing a quick test with a soil pH tester, but you don't need to do that because you already know there's a problem. Your blue flowers have gone pink. This is because your soil is alkaline. Blue hydrangeas need the soil to be mildly acidic in order to produce the blue pigment in its blooms. So what do you do to mitigate this problem? You plant your hydrangea in a special compost known as ericaceous compost. I'm not doing this anymore, it's getting boring, which is acidic. You'll find it in any decent garden centre. It might not even be called ericaceous now, it might be called camellia and rhododendron compost. Whatever it is, the staff at this shop should be aware that this is ericaceous compost. All you need to do is ask someone who looks like an adult and you'll be absolutely fine. Dig the hole where you're going to plant your hydrangea, backfill it with your ericaceous compost. I know I said I wasn't going to do that. Put in your hydrangea, don't mess about with the roots, just put it straight in, water it in, job done. Your pH has been fixed temporarily. Hooray! Mistake number 2 is to do with planting your hydrangea in the wrong location. This is often the reason why you have scorched, ugly, horrible brown leaves. In their native habitat of the temperate regions of Asia, these plants are typically found as woodland plants, and as such they do not like to be outside in full sun during the hottest part of the day. They just don't cope with it, they will scorch. When you're finding a position for your hydrangea, put it somewhere where it will receive either morning sun or early evening, late afternoon sun. Make sure that it is protected by a high canopy or a building from midday sun, which will scorch it. There is a problem with regards to that morning sun though. I'll get onto that a little bit later on. Oh, hold on a minute. If you're finding this video useful or even just mildly amusing, then don't forget to click the thumbs up, press on that subscription, and if you want to be notified of whenever we release a new video, then click on that notification bell. It helps us more than you know, and it allows us to do stupid visits like this in the future. Anyway, let's continue to find out what old boiled butt has to say. Put my bloody glasses back on. Too hot, too sunny. It's too lovely. Also, with regards to its position, make sure that wherever you've planted it, you've allowed enough space for these plants to grow. They can get really quite big. 6 foot tall 8 foot tall, 6 foot wide, 8 foot wide. You've got to make sure they have enough space, otherwise they will either crowd out the surrounding plants or they'll be in competition with bigger plants that will cause problems later on. They are going to struggle to compete with nutrition and water if you plant them next to a tree. I'll get into that one a bit later. But back to that frost issue. If you've planted your hydrangea where come the spring, when the new growth comes through, it is exposed to early morning sun and a hard frost, it's going to make an absolute mess of your new growth. It will kill it, shrivel it up, look horrible and brown. They will grow back. It will send out a second lot of growth, but you've absolutely ruined that first hit, and it's going to take a while to recover from it. So try and avoid that. Yes, they will prefer morning sun, but if you're in a frost pocket or prone to frost and you get that early hit of direct morning sun, no, you're going to get guaranteed damage on your leaves. You avoid planting into heavy soils such as clay. You avoid areas that are prone to waterlogging. If you've got very free draining soils like a sandy soil, improve the conditions by digging in plenty of organic matter. Further still, you could put a mulch around the base of the plant. Don't have that mulch touching the stem because that can cause thinning of the bark that allows infections to get in. We don't want any of that. And also during periods of drought that we often get here in the UK, make sure you go out with the watering can and water your hydrangeas. There you go. Just one more thing. If you've planted your hydrangea next to a tree, so you've got that protection from the midday sun, be aware that the root system of a tree is going to be significantly stronger than that of your hydrangea, and it will outcompete it. So again, be aware of that. Make sure you give additional water under those conditions. Get all that right, no problems at all. Mistake number 4. If you have a habit of regularly feeding your plants over the growing period with products such as Miracle-Gro, which is an excellent product, you'll find that you'll get an awful lot of lush, glossy leaves because of the high nitrogen in these chemical fertilizers. But this will reduce the amount of blooms that are going to be produced come the following spring, and it's a particular issue with certain plants, also your hydrangeas. So what is the alternative? Well, before you plant your plants, if you are doing such a thing, dig in plenty of rich organic matter such as blended farm manure, and then every single year around about April put down a lovely nutritious mulch, which could also be blended farm manure, around the top of your root ball. Again, don't have that touching the bark, so you can thin the bark and increase the risk of infection. It will also not only add nutrition into the soil, it also acts as a weed suppressant, reducing competition of weeds against the root system, and also help to keep moisture in the soil, as we mentioned before. So avoid high nitrogen chemical fertilizers, use typical organic fertilizers, or just use a fertilizer that is low in nitrogen, such as a tomato feed. That's all I've got to say about that. Keep off the nitrogen, you'll get better blooms for it. If you have established hydrangea specimens that you've had in the garden for years and you know they were blue when you bought them, and over time they've started to go pink, but there's still something you can do with that, and it's all about trying to acidify your soil back to being mildly alkaline in order to encourage the plant to produce those blue pigments. 2 products you can use. The first one is called sequestrine. That also includes increased amount of iron and magnesium, but also slightly acidifies the soil. You can try that one. You put down 1 application per year. You can put that down in April. That's absolutely fine. Or any time throughout the growing period if you've missed that April window. The second product is a product which is aluminium sulfate. Now, it's often sold as a packet of hydrangea colorant. It's funny how the only hydrangea colorant is to make your pink ones blue. It's because pink is horrible color. Again, apply that in April, or if you miss that window, anytime during the growing period, 1 application per year. And you'll probably need to do that application every year to maintain that gorgeous blue color that everybody likes, and nobody likes pink because it's horrible. This last mistake to do with pruning and is arguably one of the biggest issues with regards to looking after hydrangeas. Everybody loves to prune them, they think they're doing the right thing, and then you don't get any flowers the next year. That's because you have 2 groups of hydrangeas. You get those hydrangeas that flower on the previous season's wood, which is most of them. You get those hydrangeas that flower on the new season's wood. The ones that flower on the new season's wood, or any of your hydrangea arborescens, which are really popular, particularly the Annabelle, and any of those Paniculata, which are those wonderful cone-shaped ones. They flower on the new season's wood, and you can prune those back really in the spring. You'll get new growth, loads of flowers on that new growth. Where it all goes wrong is if you cut any other type of hydrangea in the spring. They don't like it, they will produce new growth, but you won't get any flowers on it. You tend to not prune most of these hydrangeas. So we're talking about your Macrophyllas, which is your most popular of all the hydrangeas. So be Macrophyllas. I will just run off the other ones. So it'd be like Quercifolia, be like Velosa, it will be climbing hydrangea, Petiolaris. But really, for the sake of this video, it's pretty much all about those Macrophyllas, your big-leaved mop heads and lace caps. The only pruning you do with these is late spring, once the threat of late frost has passed, and all you're really doing is just taking off the old flower heads. You just take it down to your first set of healthy buds and remove it. We generally leave those spent blooms on to help protect against frost. Remember what I said about early morning frosts and that direct sun? Try and avoid it and keep them on. Outside of that, if you do want to cut your Macrophyllas, we generally do a light pruning after flowering. If they are big, because like I say, they can get 6 to 8 feet, then you could remove, say, 2 to 3 year wood, just a few of those stems, so it doesn't look too weird. You'll get the new growth come through. That will flower, not that coming year, but the following year. Or if you've inherited a particularly big specimen, you could remove 1/3 of all the growth one year, the next year, remove 2nd and 3rd of growth in the 3rd year, the last 1/3 of growth, and then all that new growth that has been growing for the last 2 years, that will still be flowering. So you will be reducing the size, but you still will get some blooms. So there you go. Those are my 5 mistakes that beginner gardeners often make with hydrangeas. Hopefully you didn't make any of them, but then if there's still problems, I'm not sure what you're going to do about that, because I kind of covered all of them. But if you've got any great advice, any great tips, be my guest. Put that into the comment section. We would genuinely love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Right, now, just before you go, if you want to see more content, more behind the scenes stuff, and images that I've taken of some weird freaky plants over the years, then you're in luck, because we've created an Instagram page. So you can find the link in our description. You can find the link on our main page, and if I'm clever enough, I might be able to get a link somewhere up there. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you want to see more YouTube stuff, then check out this video here. That's quite a good one. And if it doesn't float your boat, then another one right there. And enjoy these while I've still got the strength, imagination and aptitude to make them. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.